Hello everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to make a fun frosty card using the Frosty Wishes Stencil of the Month from Spellbinders. This was from the October 2025 release, and it will create this adorable card panel. And let me show you how I'm going to do it. Bring in a waffle flower stencil mat. This is going to help me line up the card panel just perfectly. I'm bringing in a piece of Tim Holtz Distress Heavy White cardstock, which is nice and thick for this kind of project. And what I'm going to do is I don't want to put it directly in the corner because the stencil won't line up just right. Because see, if I put this right there, when I put the stencil in, there's meant to be, you know, kind of an outer mat, you could say. So what we want to do is we want to put it kind of like something like this. And since this stencil takes up the whole card panel, I'm going to use some removable adhesive from Tombow, and I'm just going to put a couple of strips on the back of my cardstock, and then I'm going to try to get this as straight as possible and stick it down on this silicone mat. This will allow me to bring in the first stencil, and it looks like it's going to line up just perfectly. Now, since this is not a sticky mat, we want to use some low tack tape to keep it in place. So I'm going to just make sure that this is not adhesive, or not super sticky, rather. And I'm going to put this into place like that. These are the colors, the Distress Oxide colors that I'm working with today. Let me get them in order for you. Spun Sugar, Salvage Patina, Lost Shadow, Dried Marigold, and Black Soot. For this first stencil is going to color in the background. So I'm going to start in and go with some Salvage Patina. Make sure you kind of bounce off your excess, and then starting on the stencil like so. Okay. I'm going to set these to the side and clean them at the end. Let's go in with layer 2. This is going to color in our cheeks, and if we wanted to color in say the ribbon on the hat, because again, what helps me is to kind of reference this little stencil right here. So I might leave the rim of the hat white like they did. But we'll definitely color his little cheeks. And I'm not going to tape this because I'm just going to make sure I'm holding it in the corner, because I just need to get in and get those two things like that. And this goes pretty quick. You could even do a hinge method with these stencils because it's so easy to do. But I am just creating the one panel today. But this would be a fun way to get quite a few cards done to have on hand. And this could be used for Christmas, for winter scenes. So it's pretty a nice variety. Now I'm going to be going in with some black, so I really want to make sure that my stencil is in place. I don't want it shifting on me. The hat is kind of precarious because you just want to make sure it doesn't move, because it's easy to kind of blend under there. So I'm going to try to hold that down very well. And I want to kind of talk about the blending brushes that I'm using. So these are You can use them with the flat blending foam or the rounded. I hadn't got to changing this one out yet, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it out. These handles are from Ranger, and they're great for making distress oxide backgrounds. But again, you know, just want to be careful that you don't get ink all over your project. I'm going to use a baby wipe to clean up some of the ink that I got on my fingers. But they're super easy to change out. I actually have a little blending handle for every color that I have of distress oxides. And if you're interested, I could show you kind of how I organize those, if that's something you want to see. But the rounded part makes it a lot easier to blend. All right, so we're going to just go over get some of that back on there, and then okay, let's see if we can, and I'm going to get some on my fingers, and it's okay that I'm blending onto the stencil mat like that. I'm trying not to go super in circular motions, just because I don't want any to go under the stencil. But we want a nice black coverage for his hat, like that. Now I'm going to grab another baby wipe, and I'm going to just kind of clean up this extra ink I have over here right now. And I will go ahead and wipe up the stencil while it's wet. Because of the black soot's a little bit more difficult to get off if it dries. How is everyone doing today? Hopefully you're having a nice, relaxing day. Have you started on your Christmas cards yet? And if not, are you feeling stressed about it? I have a pretty good collection of cards going so far, but I definitely need more, so I need to get with it. Stencil number 4 is gonna create our nose for us, and this one will be easy to just hold in place. But I'm gonna come in with some dried marigold. So yeah, just make sure you hold it in place and get nice coverage like that. That's so cute, I love it. And it's so easy to put together. This is actually the last stencil right here. Now this one we might want to go ahead and put into place. I mean, I feel comfortable that I could, you know, do it on without having any issues, but famous last words, right? So yeah, this stencil mat makes it super easy to just bump it up into the corner. I'm going to take what was left and actually put some more of the dried marigold and go over, try to add some kind of dimension on the carrot. And then for the last little bit, I'm going to come in with some lost shadow for his eyebrows and underneath near his chin. So just that. Grab his eyebrows. And then for his hat, I do think I might want to, do I want to stick with the sponge sugar? Let's kind of look. So we did lost shadow. I think it would be cute to incorporate some more sponge sugar. So yeah, let's bring our sponge sugar back in for this. Another tool that you could use for blending are the paper pouncers. I have them for my Distress Oxides, and they're the Picket Fence Studios, but they're nice because you just kind of ink it up and then you just kind of pounce. So that's another option if you don't have the blending brushes. And then you could always, or the blending foam. And of course you could always come in with blending brushes. I really like the ones from Waffle Flower. They're easy to clean off in between. I just take a paper towel or my cloth and I will clean off the ink that was there before. In fact, if you can, have a couple of, especially if you work with lighter pinks, if you can have a couple of pink brushes that are dedicated and have one specifically for spun sugar, that'll make it so that you don't have any issues when it comes to getting too dark. So let's take off the last stencil and look at our final panel. Isn't that cute? Now you can see that there's a little bit of an edge here, and it could be because my cardstock wasn't trimmed down to be exactly 5.5 by 4.25, but we can easily trim that and not make it a problem. Let me go ahead and clean up my workspace. I'm just gonna to clean off all the stencils, I'm gonna use a little bit of, you can use a baby wipe or you could use rubbing alcohol. I like to use rubbing alcohol because it does dry faster. So I'm gonna lay my cloth down. And I just keep some rubbing alcohol in this bottle. Just give everything a light spritz. Oh, lost my stencil. Oh, and I forgot the first one that we used with the salvage patina. I love salvaged patina. If I have anywhere that I can use a teal color, I'm all about that. What colors do you guys like to work with? Do you have any favorites? All right, keep my stencil set together. And again, it's the stencil of the month from Spellbinders in Frosty Wishes. It could be a great time saver for if you need to make a lot of cards. It honestly doesn't even really need a sentiment, but if you did want to incorporate something, Spellbinders also had another great kit that went with the Better Press called Made with Snowflakes. And it came with this adorable press plate with snowmen, and then these 3 sentiments of made with love and snowflakes, let it snow, and sending frosty wishes. And off camera, I used my glimmer machine and I glimmered them and just trimmed them down. So I used a blue and kind of like a silver for the sentiments. And they're so cute. Just like that. Now, if we want to bring our panel in, after, and don't forget, you want to you can use your finger to just remove that adhesive that we had on there. Since it's removable, it's not permanent, so it just comes right off. But I really like the Sending Frosty Wishes. But I honestly feel like this card doesn't even need a sentiment. You can put your sentiment on the inside of the card. So if I line this up, I can see where I have excess. So let me trim this down so we have the right size of panel for our card base. Just like that, and then a little bit at the top. Yeah, that'll fit just perfectly. I'm not going to trim it down any further than that. And I'm going to bring in my Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. I'm just going to make thin lines with my adhesive. And a few blobbies. The adhesive makes it so easy. I really just plop it on there and line it up like that. And then I can eyeball it. So it is a little bit short than what I would like it because I trimmed off a little bit too much, but it's gonna not be anything that's even noticeable, really. Only to us because we pay attention to those things. And even if someone notices, I mean, that's part of the appeal of a handmade card, right? If we wanted perfection, we would just go buy one. So while we let that dry, here is another one that I did, and I used a white gel pen and added snow to the scene. So you can kind of have two different options. And then you can see here, I didn't have as heavy of a hand when I was doing the background. So just a couple of different looks, but using the same colors. I think these are super adorable, and you can put a nice sentiment on the inside. And anyone would love to get these. I'm not going to add a sentiment to the front, so this will be our completed card project. See how fast and easy that was? I love using stencils and creating backgrounds. In fact, I have a card idea video that I want to create with some patterned paper, making simple, fun, and festive cards for Christmas with patterned paper and some die cuts. Would that be something that you guys would be interested in? Thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate you spending your time here making these fast and simple cards using stencils. As you can see, it was really fast to put together, and you could easily make 20 of these in no time. I'm going to link as many of the supplies as I can down in the description box below, but I'd also love if you could check out my blog where I'll have all of the supplies and techniques listed. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.